I recently saw the news that for the first time ever, Seoul has been named the best city for students according to the QS World University Rankings, beating London, which held the position for 6 consecutive years, to the 3rd place, leaving Tokyo in the 2nd position. And this was actually very huge news because it signifies this shift in study abroad trends and destinations, and also the rising power of Asian Pacific countries when it comes to higher education. And it led me to want to create this video where I discuss why studying Korea might be the best decision of your life. I've definitely noticed the upward trend in people choosing Korea as their study abroad destinations, or specifically Seoul, and I think it is for a very good reason. And if you click on this video, you're probably interested in studying in Korea or you already a student here, so I hope this video will be helpful for you. And just in case you're new here, hi, welcome, my name is Hope. I've been living in Korea for more than 5 years and I've been studying in the university here for more than 2 years. I film various informative videos on my YouTube channel, so you can check those out. And I also film various informational and fun videos on both of my TikTok and Instagram accounts, so please follow, subscribe, like this video if you want to see similar content in the future, and also comment because I would love to hear your opinions on this particular topic and whether you also think that Seoul is the best city for students. Now that we've got acquainted, let's get started. So as you can see here on the screen, here is the list of top 20 best cities for students for 2026, and Seoul is at the top, followed by Tokyo and London, and then you can see other cities. So if you're interested, you can check it out. And arguably one of the main drivers of Seoul's rise to the top was the factor of affordability, which also made London go lower this time around. So let's look at each criteria in more depth and discuss what I think about the score based on my personal experience. Let's look at the first criteria, which covers desirability, and it has a score of 90.2. And this criteria looks into factors that reflect the desirability of the location, such as climate, corruption, healthcare, and safety. Such a high score in this criteria definitely doesn't surprise me because everyone whom I've ever talked to here says basically the same thing, that they chose Seoul because first, they became a fan of Korean culture, whether through Korean music like K-pop, Korean film like K-dramas. They became a fan, they became drawn to it, they became interested in it, and therefore developed the desire to study here. And a lot of students also say that they feel very safe studying in Korea. Crime rates here are generally very low, from theft to homicide. There's little to no gun violence here due to very strict laws, and there are CCTV cameras basically on every corner of this country, so I would say that the crime is very heavily monitored here. And also there's this very high cultural aspect to crimes, which makes people less prone to committing like petty crimes. So I would definitely argue that Korea is relatively safe, especially for a lot of young people and for a lot of young women. However, I would not say that it is safe when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual abuse in general. So again, I would say that it's very safe, but also be very careful because it's genuinely never safe for women everywhere, anywhere on earth. So healthcare, I would also agree that it is generally very accessible and easy to get for minor issues, for minor health issues, but not for major ones. Especially if you've been living in Korea for more than 6 months, that makes you eligible to automatically be enrolled in national health insurance. So I would definitely say that it is relatively affordable. And corruption, again, yes, relatively low, especially when it comes to higher education. And when it comes to climate, I would say Korea has 4 very distinct seasons that people from all over the world can experience in great depth. And personally for me, autumn is my favorite season because the temperature is just perfect. It's not too hot, it's not too cold yet. The scenery is very beautiful, the air is relatively clean. So autumn is definitely my all-time favorite. Spring is my second favorite because everything starts to bloom. It's very beautiful, cherry blossoms are in full bloom, but the air quality is generally can be very bad, and air quality mixed with pollen makes my allergies go absolutely insane, so I can't survive without medicine. But if you put that aside, spring is also very beautiful. My third favorite is probably gonna be winter because air quality is cleaner, but it is very cold. Like the wind here is very, very cold. It makes the winter even colder than in other countries. And the wind is just like penetrating through 3 layers of clothing. So no matter how much you layer, it's not gonna help you be warm. And the only thing that helps, in my personal experience, is wearing those long padded jackets. That's the only thing that can help you survive winter here. So be prepared for that. And the summer, oh boy. I have yet to meet a single person who genuinely enjoys summers here in Korea because summers here are very humid. It's hot plus humid, which makes it 100 times worse, and it's definitely not for the weak. You practically can't survive without the air conditioner here. So I would recommend, if you have the opportunity and if you have the means for it, leave Korea for summer. Don't stay here. And generally most international students do that anyway. They just leave for their home countries during summer, so definitely do that. And also, don't even get me started on the rainy season, the monsoon season, which it rains for literally every single day for like a month in the middle of the summer. So yeah, 4 very distinct seasons for you to appreciate here, so get ready for that. The next criteria is affordability, which stands at 51.8, and it assesses tuition fees and general living expenses. Now, this one is very interesting because the scores, I guess, is in the middle range, which makes sense in my head. Seoul is relatively affordable. Again, it highly depends on a lot of factors. I would say Seoul is less affordable than other cities in Korea, which makes sense because it is the capital, which automatically makes it more expensive. When it comes to tuition, the affordability is again debatable, right? Is it cheaper to study in the university here rather than in the university in the United States, for example? Yes, 100 times. So if you're coming from a wealthy Western country, Seoul would be affordable to you, but it's not the case for everyone. Tuition price also depends on the university that you're choosing, with private universities being more expensive than national universities, and it also depends on your major, because some majors are more expensive than others. When it comes to living expenses, again, Seoul is much more expensive than other cities in Korea, and the rent, I would say, is super high for apartments, especially the deposit part. But again, if you compare the rent prices to cities like London, relatively affordable. And transportation cost is affordable and comfortable to use, but food prices, I've noticed, has been rising steadily for the past couple of years, so I would say it's becoming less affordable. So as you can see, the score actually perfectly portrays this criteria, so it's not too high, but it's not too low either. So there we go. Now the next criteria is called the student mix, and it has a score of 77 points. And this looks into the volume of international students and general students to the overall city's population. I did some research, and as of 2026, there are around 300,000 foreign students in Korea, with around 80,000 of them living in Seoul. So the ranking of 77 is not the strongest, meaning the Korean students are still very dominant body in most institutions in Seoul. But still, I think personally, I have definitely seen an influx of international students in the past couple of years, and I feel like it's definitely rising with each year. And I think also we need to take into account that Korea has a very low birth rate. It's one of the lowest in the world, and with each year there's a lower rates of enrollment in universities when it comes to Korean students. So the administration will definitely push for more efforts to attract international students to offset these difficulties. So I expect to see even more international students in Seoul and in other cities in Korea in, say, the next couple of years, because the government actively pushes for that. So this score will probably rise in the near future. And the next score is very interesting. It's called Employer Activity, and it has a score of 93.3 points. It's based on how well the city is recognized by domestic and international employers, as well as the youth employment figures. This criteria I was initially very confused about, especially given its very high score. It basically measures the employability of graduates here, as well as the employment conditions. And I find this score very hard to believe, because I've seen how hard it is for international students to find a job here after graduation. But at the same time, I can also acknowledge that universities here do have an ecosystem that can prepare you for employment, as well as the name of university also carries a lot of weight in your employability. I'm not a graduate yet, and I haven't been looking for full-time jobs as of yet, so I will report on that after I graduate and after I will start looking for a job, so be on standby for that, okay? The last criteria is called Student View, and it has a score of 79.3, and this is basically the students' views about the city, which I have noticed is generally very favorable. Even if students do struggle studying here based on various other reasons, they still acknowledge that studying in Seoul is very comfortable. It's a city that literally has everything that a student would ever need. It's very walkable if you don't mind continuous inclines and hills. It has a very good transportation system, like I've mentioned before. It has convenience stores on basically every corner of the country that work 24/7. It has markets, supermarkets, cheap restaurants, fast food places, coffee shops, very big shopping districts, various activities that you can do on the weekend. So it basically has everything that a young person would ever want in a city. So I would think that this score will be a bit higher than 79.3, or let's say 80. But we'll see how it might improve next year. So overall, I would say that I agree with the sentiment that Seoul is the best city for students in 2026. It offers a very comfortable living environment while offering a higher education mixed with various activities that you can do on the weekend to unwind, along with good employment opportunities. I've talked with plenty of international students who both love and hate studying in Korea, but one thing they do agree on is that Seoul is a very good city for students. And I personally love seeing Seoul being on top of the list because it definitely signifies a shift in how the world perceives a country like Korea and its rising influence on the international stage, which I would always love to see. I think we also need to consider the geopolitical stage of the world right now and how many powerhouse countries that dominated the higher education scene for decades are now losing their image of being a country that is desirable for foreign students to study in. So when it comes to countries like the US, Canada, and many other European countries, they begin adopting stricter rules for international students, as well as just generally adopting a very hostile view of immigrants, of which the international student body is a part of that category. So it's no wonder that young people are now more drawn to Asian countries. And Korea in particular, which actually welcomes foreign students and in need of foreign students. They can actually offer a relatively good study abroad experiences. Now, that is not to say that Korea is perfect destination to study in, because definitely it has some challenges that I know a lot of international students know about, but I would say that relatively speaking, it is a very good study abroad destination. If you want me to explore topics on why you perhaps should not study in Korea, I might film a video on that. So if you're interested, please let me know. But overall, I would say that I do agree with this ranking, and I genuinely love seeing Korea succeed in this regard. So now that we've discussed that Seoul is in fact the best city for students to study in 2026 and came to the conclusion that it is in fact true, here's the upcoming question that I want you guys to consider. Should you study here or not if you're considering studying here? My answer might surprise some of you because it heavily depends on what type of a university experience you want to get and what are your long-term goals. I would personally recommend you to come as an exchange student or as a Korean language student versus a full-time undergraduate, graduate, PhD student. And if you want to know why, you can check my video right here where I compare the two categories to let you decide better and maybe give you some food for thought. So please check this out. I think it's very interesting for you to listen to the arguments and points that I've made in this video, and I think it would help you decide what is best for you. But for now, this is it for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic and whether you actually also agree on this QS ranking for 2026. Why do you agree? Why not? Let me know in the comments. Also check this playlist with various informational videos about studying Korea. I think you would find it very helpful. And as always, like, subscribe, check out my latest videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!